If it's Monday night, oh yes it is Ridiculously Raw. Hello friends, it's the Ridiculously Over Gentleman Anthony Floyer here with you for another edition of Ridiculously Raw. We do apologize for the late start. It was to accommodate Michael Bullock, who was out tonight, had plans of his own. As you all know, we all have lives outside of YouTube, and it's going to be the Yes Movement running the show tonight because our other two panelists will not be joining us. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, work commitments beyond his control, will not be joining us this evening. And Dee Dee Woodson, our first lady of the wrestling forum, the Twisted Angel, will not be joining us either because she's still of course attending to her family emergency, and we're hopeful of having her back with us next week. So myself and Bullock will be running the show here this evening, and without further ado, let's get into the action. Of course, Monday Night Raw was not live tonight. It was actually taped. It was taped earlier in the day from the O2 Arena in London, England. The spoilers, they came out this afternoon, and I'll be honest, I read them, and I wonder what I wondered how this was going to play out. But anyways, let's get into this. Started off with an in-ring segment. We had the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion Dean Ambrose. Well, they showed him backstage. Entering the arena, and he got a call from Kurt Angle, the actual general manager. He was not on the show, and Kurt Angle said, "I'm appointing you as the acting general manager." But then the Miz came out and said, "Well, Stephanie McMahon got a hold of me and asked me to be the co-general manager." So of course they got into it, and then all of a sudden, despite the fact that he's injured, guess who still showed up? My favorite, along with Michael Bullock's favorite. You know who I'm talking about. The monster among men, Braun Strowman. Arm in a sling. Of course, the news came out today on the dirt sheets, and Derek Ferrera. He's out 4 to 8 weeks. Yeah, right. He was still there, and we're gonna have more to say on Mr. Strowman in just a moment. Of course, he wanted Roman Reigns, and then wait, the fun doesn't stop there. Kalisto shows up, and he wanted a match with Braun Strowman, and Braun basically said, "Oh, I could beat you with one arm," and Dean Ambrose says, "Okay, I want to make you put your money where your mouth is. You and Kalisto one-on-one," and Strowman didn't like it, and then major brouhaha. So yeah, this was the typical Raw opening segment. It was largely fine, but it was just the segment that existed to fill 15 minutes and tease that we're going to get shenanigans between The Miz and Ambrose all night. So, even though it wasn't for me, Ambrose having some control over the show was sure to appeal to some viewers due to his crazy character. Strowman came off well, but I am surprised they had him show hesitation about facing Kalisto because of the injury. Kalisto was the least over person in the segment, so fans are not looking at him differently despite his dumpster match win. So that's really all I can say on that. And it led into a match, a 2-for-1 deal. It led into a match, The Miz one-on-one with the Demon King, Finn Balor. At first, Miz won the match via disqualification, but then Dean Ambrose overruled the decision, restarted the match, and then Finn Balor won immediately. So total time of the match, 13 minutes and 20 seconds. 2.5 stars is my rating for this. Perfectly fine outing, but they got too cute, and I felt it took away from the bout. I expect Miz to get back at Ambrose later in the night. We'll see what happens, and it was a good show opening match with Balor and Miz. I thought we might see Bray Wyatt show up to get them out of having a finish, if only because The Miz is the number one contender to the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. And in fact, as strong as the finish of last week's show was, it's surprising there wasn't a video package or something to recap all of the feuds that were set up during the closing moments. So that's all I can say on that. So I believe I had this as my second best fight of the night. Solid 2.5 stars. So Phenom, Michael Bullock, come on in. let's get your thoughts on the opening segment as well as the match with The Miz and Finn Balor, one of our vintage 2-for-1 segments here on Ridiculously Raw.
Yeah, as far as the segment goes, I mean, it was fine for what it was. I mean, it really didn't leave me amazed or made me want to jump out of my seat with this segment. I mean, especially with The Miz and Dean Ambrose fighting over who should be running the show, and judging by the way when Kurt Angle had uh, Dean Ambrose running the show, and then Stephanie McMahon saying that The Miz should be doing it. I got this feeling, Florio, that I think Kurt Angle and Stephanie McMahon, whenever we see her again, I think they're going to be button heads, just like when she had problems with Mick Foley. That's just what I think is going to happen when they finally see each other face to face. But in any event, I mean, then Braun Strowman comes out and says that, talking about how he destroyed Roman Reigns at Payback and that he wasn't finished with him yet, and then Kalisto shows up and wants another piece of Braun Strowman, and says, and Dean Ambrose says, "All right, it's on." So, and then we get Finn Balor going up against The Miz. So as far as the match goes, I agree. 2.5 stars is my rating on the match. So yeah, you pretty much touched on everything on the match, Florio. So segment was fine. Match was 2.5 stars. So, and I think somewhere down the line, and like I just mentioned, Kurt Angle and Stephanie McMahon are going to have a tough time getting along because, hello, Stephanie McMahon's a heel. So
Exactly.
So that being, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you.
Yeah. Don't expect any friendliness between the two.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It'll probably be like their relationship will probably be just as tumultuous as the one Stephanie had with Mick Foley. So we'll see what happens with that, because yes, like Bullock said, Stephanie McMahon, the heel authority figure, Kurt Angle, the babyface authority figure. So we'll see what happens with that. So
Yeah.
don't worry.
And given the history of the two of them, especially going back to the Attitude Era.
Yes, absolutely. Kurt Angle, of course, had Stephanie McMahon as his business associate when he won his
But
first.
could you imagine if Triple H somehow were to return and those two went face to face?
That would be hella fun. I would love to see it. I mean, the matches those two used to have back in the day, hella fun. That's all I can say. So
yeah. So let's just move on.
Yes, absolutely. And moving on to the first of our two women's matches on the night. This was a non-title match. We had the Raw Women's Champion Alexa Bliss, and she was not alone. She actually was accompanied by Nia Jax. That was after a backstage segment, and then Mickie James, Alexa Bliss one-on-one with Mickie James, but Alexa Bliss had Nia Jax in her corner, but Mickie James had some backup of her own. The former Raw Women's Champion, Bayley. So Alexa Bliss accompanied by Nia Jax, Mickie James accompanied by Bayley. Nonetheless, though, the winner of the match in between 8 minutes and 15 seconds to 9 minutes and 5 seconds, it was Alexa Bliss. So, all right, Michael Bullock, your thoughts on this first of two women's matches on the night?
I'm going to give this about 2.25, 2.5 stars as my rating on the match, even though I'm leaning more towards the 2.25. But I thought this was a good match in the amount of time that was given. But yeah, and then of course, basically after the match, I mean, Nia Jax basically takes out Mickie James. So yeah, so of course Nia Jax has stated she wants a shot at the Raw Women's title, but let's not forget one thing. I mean, Bayley does have a rematch clause, and I think we're going to see those two face each other again sometime down the line. maybe on another episode of Raw, or maybe at the next Raw exclusive pay-per-view. So we'll just have to wait and see. So 2.25 stars is my rating. Florio, what's yours?
Solid 2 stars for me, Bullock. It was really flat. The match was really flat with a disinterested crowd and solid but bland in-ring work. But it did work to advance Bayley and Alexa Bliss, and the right people were spotlighted given the current storylines. But it continues to be a shame that the Mickie James return has been so lackluster. My goodness, but no. Okay match. It was only 2 stars. Like I said, flat match. The crowd wasn't really into it, and the work was solid, but mostly bland for the most part. And I do agree with you, Bullock. You make a great point. Bayley, of course, has the automatic rematch clause, and well, the next Raw pay-per-view is not that far away. Even though we have a little bit of time to get to it, the next Raw exclusive pay-per-view will be Extreme Rules, and that will be on June the 4th from Baltimore. So it wouldn't surprise me if they save the rematch for that event. But then again, you never know. They could put it on a future Monday Night Raw within the next few weeks. So we'll see. But 2 stars for me. Well, what's a ridiculously Raw without cutouts? And, we had a cutout here. It was supposed to be Braun Strowman and Kalisto. Strowman actually won the match via disqualification in 1 minute because of interference by Roman Reigns. Yeah, Roman Reigns showed up. Boo. Oh, yeah, they booed him big time. And I'll say it like this. It was, of course, it's no rating to a dud. But it was a good angle to write out Braun for his surgery and to allow Reigns some revenge after the Payback loss. Imagine the destruction when Braun returns. These two may end up killing each other. Ooh, that's gonna be scary, but hella fun at the same time. So, I mean, it did seem a little cowardly for the Reigns character to work over a wounded body part of an opponent, but I suppose a case can be made that he was fighting fire with fire. So, yeah. So Strowman out 4 to 8 weeks because of an elbow injury. He's gonna have surgery, so he's out 4 to 8 weeks. So we'll see how we'll see what happens once he comes back. So that's going to be a cutout there. So okay, now we're going to get into one of the feature matches of this show. Tag Team Turmoil. Tag Team Turmoil. We had Sheamus and Cesaro, Enzo and Cass, Heath Slater and Rhino, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and the Golden Truth of Goldust and R-Truth. When all was said and done, the winners of the match in a total time of 27 minutes and 45 seconds, and number 1 contenders to the Raw Tag Team Championship. Surprise, surprise, Sheamus and Cesaro. But Sheamus and Cesaro actually started the match with Enzo and Cass, and they went the distance. They went wire to wire and won the bout. So therefore, Sheamus and Cesaro will get another shot at the Broken Hardys in their Raw Tag Team Championship. So I believe I start this one off here, and this to me was the fight of the night. 3.25 stars. Good match with some really fun segments, but Sheamus and Cesaro running the table as they did really puts them over as strong title contenders. So mission accomplished. And it was also nice to see that they didn't rush through this. The match was laid out nicely in terms of making Sheamus and Cesaro look like badasses for lasting as long as they did, while also making it seem like Golden Truth had a chance to win as the fresh team. They ate up a lot of television time and filled it nicely. There was no indication as to when the Hardys and Sheamus Cesaro match will be held, but the Extreme Rules show seems like a very strong possibility. And you know what? I think that's when it will go down. I think it will be at Extreme Rules. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting some sort of a stipulation on this match, because usually almost every match on the Extreme Rules card usually has some sort of extreme stipulations. So any extreme stipulation you want to put on this tag team title match is more than okay with myself, and it's also more than okay with Bullock as well. And I'm sure MF and Didi would agree with us if they were here. So That's all I can say on that. So for me, fight of the night, 3.25 stars. And the Hardys, well, the Hardys actually after the match, the Hardys showed up and they ran off. And they ran off Sheamus and Cesaro as Sheamus and Cesaro were doing a number on the Golden Truth after the match. And well, Hardys, excuse me, the Hardys, they showed up, got a little measure of revenge, and well, you know what happens. You know what happens when the Hardys show up and they get comeuppance. Bullock knows what happens. You all know what happens. You don't make the list, but you get a nice heaping, helping share of the most delightful, delectable treat out there in the world today. Sauteed green beans for everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
This is your future, Sheamus and Cesaro. This is your future. Come June 4th in Baltimore, Maryland. So.
And then, in the words of Batista, deal with it.
Deal with it, indeed. And of course, if only MF were here, he could have given the
obsolete.
The obsolete song. But don't worry. Don't make Sheamus and Cesaro look like obsolete mules that they really are. So nice to see them get their comeuppance. So the match at Extreme Rules, let's not kid ourselves. It's going to be delightful. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. 3.25 stars, fight of the night. What says you, Brother Bullock?
What says me, Brother Florio, is 3.25 stars is my rating on the match as well. And it is indeed the fight of the night. And this match was certainly delightful, wonderful. Yes. Nothing else to say, Florio. It is yours.
Oh, yes. I mean, anytime we get to show off those sauteed green beans, it's always a wonderful night. So now we move on to the serious business at hand. Return match from Payback. We had the Samoan submission machine, the Destroyer, Samoa Joe, squaring off against the King Slayer, Seth Rollins. By the way, I got the new King Slayer t-shirt. I'm wearing it right now. Look, it's freaking awesome. That's all I can say on that. Winner of the match let me see if I can get the time here. Between 15 minutes and 5 seconds to 15 minutes and 11 seconds via a disqualification. Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe, rammed Seth Rollins' head into the exposed top turnbuckle, disobeying the referee. So the referee called for the bell and for the DQ. So Michael Bullock, Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe. I'm very surprised they actually gave this match away on free television as quickly as they did. I thought they would have saved the rematch for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I thought maybe they were gonna save it for Extreme Rules, but who knows? Maybe it could still happen, but we'll wait and see. But as far as the match goes, excuse me, I'm gonna give this about 3.25 stars. I could have given it higher, but the DQ finish really took away from it. I mean, and the match I thought was really good. But like I said, the DQ finish really took away from it, and I think because of the DQ finish, I think we could get another match between these two at Extreme Rules and with some kind of extreme stipulation. What could that stipulation be? I'm not quite sure. So 3 to 3.25 stars is my rating. Enjoyed the match, just didn't like the ending. So Florio, it's yours.
Second best fight of the night for me, Bullock. I'm gonna go a little lower on the rating. 2.75 stars is my rating for this. Pretty good match overall, likely setting them up for a stipulation match at Extreme Rules. It was missing something to really make me care about what they are doing. the work is solid, but these two didn't really click in the ring on this bout as I had hoped. My only real complaint is that if you're going to do the DQ finish, don't go 15 minutes and then do it. Shave a bit off, amp up the aggression, and do it earlier. This feud simply must continue. And like I said, I'm surprised they gave this match away on television and did not feature it in the main event slot. I'm also surprised they had the match go as long as it did. The live crowd was slow to get into the action. In fact, they have been very tame by UK crowd standards on this show. The match was entertaining, but it was missing something in terms of leaving me anxious to see more. The finish was nicely done in terms of protecting both men while putting heat on Joe. It's been an interesting show in that there has been a lot of in-ring work with minimal in-ring verbal segments and backstage promos. So yeah. Like I said, second best fight of the night. 2 3/4 stars. So with that said, we move on to our next match. And well, I'm gonna leave this up to Bullock here because the next match was the cruiserweight match. TJP squaring off against Jack Gallagher. TJ Perkins, or TJP rather, won the match. Time of the fall within 3 minutes and 5 seconds to 3 minutes and 8 seconds. So Bullock, do you want to make this a cutout or do you want to actually
cut out?
Yeah, cut out. Okay, I thought so. All right. I'll give you a thought on that. I'm actually going to give it 2 stars for the effort. I mean, they didn't have much time, but they made the most out of it. Gallagher has become a guy I always look forward to watching, just like Bullock does. And the post-match attack hopefully will translate to some good heat on TJP, especially on tomorrow night's edition of 205 Live. And Neville was defensive on commentary when he was asked if TJP had earned a title shot now that he'd beaten Gallagher. So that's all I can say on that. So solid 2 stars for me. This next match, I know is going to be, I don't even have to ask you, Bullock. I know this is going to be a cutout here. Our second women's match, Sasha Banks and Alicia Fox. Sasha Banks won the match in 2 minutes and 45 seconds to 2 minutes and 55 seconds. No rating to a dud. They tried to work a fast-paced match, but it was very disjointed with the sloppy finish. And the broadcast team pointed out that Fox's shoulder was not actually down for the 3 count. So I assume we're gonna go back to this match next week. So with that being said, let's move on to the main event of the evening. Another non-title match. Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion Dean Ambrose squaring off against Bray Wyatt in a match made by The Miz as co-acting general manager. Winner of the match now the time of this varies. One sheet here says 13.5 minutes. Another says 15 minutes and 20 seconds. But nonetheless, it was Bray Wyatt who won the match. Miz hit Dean Ambrose with the title belt, and then Bray Wyatt rolled Ambrose back in for the Sister Abigail for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah. So I'm trying to. I think I lead off on this one, correct?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because I think you led off on the Rollins and Joe, and then we cut out the other 2 bouts. All right, yeah, it is me. Okay. Another 2.5 star match. I don't think this was a bad match, but it was just sort of there. I kept waiting for them to do something to really pull me in and make me care, but it never happened. I mean, WWE made good on Ambrose's character, saying he wanted less talk and more action on this show. So yeah, that's really all I can say on that. So 2.5 stars. And it was announced that next Monday night on Raw, Dean Ambrose will defend the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship against The Miz. Wow, very quickly going into that. I thought they would have saved that for the pay-per-view, but we're getting it next week. So 2.5 stars. Michael Bullock, your thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, 2.5 stars is my rating on the main event as well. And yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, I thought they were going to save the match between The Miz and Dean Ambrose next week for. I mean, I thought they were going to save it for Extreme Rules, but we're going to get it next week. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So 2.5 stars. So let's get to our overall thoughts on this edition of Raw.
All right, Bullock. What were your overall thoughts on this?
Why don't you lead off on this?
Okay, yeah, not a problem. I had a feeling you weren't going to be ready. 6 out of 10. That's the best I can give it. It wasn't a bad show this week as much as it was an overall bland effort. They did some follow up on last week and also built to future matches, but I can't say much of it excited me. The only thing I can recommend, I mean, as far as matches to what I can recommend, tag team turmoil first and foremost, because that was the fight of the night. That post match segment with Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, I can definitely recommend that. The Miz and Balor fight, the Rollins and Joe, and for the most part, the main event. But other than that, that's all I can recommend. Like I said, I mean, this is where I meant to say WWE made good on Ambrose's character, saying he wanted less talk and more action. Unfortunately, it did not lead to this being a memorable night. The live crowd was surprisingly flat, and perhaps they actually could have used more talking to break things up. It was not a hot show in terms of storyline developments. We're under a month away from Extreme Rules, but there was no direct hype for that show. Overall, it was a decent show, and the quote-unquote wrestling, and nothing but wrestling crowd would be more pleased than usual. But there was nothing particularly memorable about it. So that's really all I can give on that. So for me, it's a 6 out of 10. Michael Bullock, do you agree with that rating?
I agree with your rating. It is a 6 out of 10 for me. I mean, it was good for what it was, but it really left to be desired. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So Florio, I think it's time for your Tony Steak.
I think it's time for my Tony Steak too, Bullock. You're absolutely right. And we're going to start it off with 205 Live from last week. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is not going to be a positive review either, because this was not a good show at all. First fight of the night was Lince Dorado against TJP. TJP won the match in 7 minutes and 10 seconds via the knee bar submission. 2-star match, pretty rough match at times, but I loved TJP's heel antics. Next match, Mustafa Ali against Drew Gulak. Drew Gulak wins the match in 5 minutes and 6 seconds. By default, this was the fight of the night. 2.5 stars, an improvement over the opener, playing into the angle very well. And the match was simply cleaner and more streamlined. And then the main event, Noam Dar versus Rich Swann. Noam Dar won the match in 13 minutes and 20 seconds. I'm sorry, I can only give it 1.5 stars. It wasn't so much a bad match. The work was rather clean and the ideas were sound. Unfortunately, it was extremely boring and was very difficult to get into. And then my overall review, I can honestly say since 205 Live started at the end of last November, this was the worst show I've seen. This was not a good show by any means of the imagination. I can only give it a 4.5 out of 10. It felt extremely lifeless. TJP was fun in his match, and the Gulak Ali program has some promise, but other than that, completely skippable episode. You're not missing anything, trust me. So I can honestly say I strongly recommend don't watch this show unless you're absolutely bored out of your freaking minds. So yeah, 4.5 out of 10. Not a good show by any means. So sorry. So with that being said, let's get into Impact Wrestling. And well, am I going to have a more positive review here? Well, let's find out. I know you fans out there are hoping that I do. So you know what? It'll be a little more positive. I'll definitely say that. This will be a more positive review. I promise you that. And let me get my notes up here. Okay. And we actually started it off with a match for once. And a very good match at that. Matt Sydal. You all remember Matt Sydal. He wrestled in the WWE as Evan Bourne. He's now in TNA. As his actual name, Matt Sydal. And he went one-on-one with Eddie Edwards. Of course, Eddie Edwards had his wife, Alicia, in his corner. Winner of the match in 14 minutes and 55 seconds. Hey, Matt Sydal. Matt Sydal beats Eddie Edwards. 2 matches in, and what a win for Matt Sydal as he pinned a former TNA World Heavyweight Champion in Eddie Edwards. I'm going to be real honest with you. This was the fight of the night. 3.5 stars. Very good match. That was hurt a bit by the commercial break, but they kept a great pace, and it was refreshing to kick off the show with a fun and energetic match instead of that elongated windbag talking segment. Josh Matthews was again not good on commentary, almost ruining parts of the bout. They're not messing around with Seidel, and they're making him a threat right away. Well done. So, fight of the night, 3.5 stars. I strongly recommend you watch this match because if you like good technical scientific chain wrestling like Michael Bullock and I do, this is a match for you. So well done. And then we had this match was for the Global Force Wrestling Women's Championship. Champion Christina Von Eerie defending the title against Sienna. Of course, Sienna had KM, Kevin Matthews, in her corner. Didn't really need him because the winner of the match in 4 minutes and the new Global Force Wrestling Women's Champion, Sienna, wins the title with the silencer. Yeah. 1 star, not a good match. Von Eerie is just not a clean worker, and that led to the match being completely disjointed. But thankfully, Sienna won the title. So this was my 3rd worst fight of the night. So that's all there is on that. So let me see. Ethan Carter III, he was in a squash match against John Bolin. Of course, he won the match in 2 minutes and 38 seconds. No rating to a dud. Co-worst fight of the night because there is another match just as bad. Good squash with EC3 being extra aggressive to reflect his recent heel turn. And then we had another Global Force Wrestling title match. This was actually for the Global Force Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. The champion, Magnus, of course, as you all know, Magnus, the husband of Mickie James. He went one-on-one. He defended the title against Matt Morgan, another former WWE mainstay. Magnus wins the match in 9 minutes and 35 seconds. He is still the Global Force Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. 2 stars, completely bland match, devoid of fun, drama, and excitement. So that's all I can say on that. And then we had another squash match, Congo Kong with Laurel Van Ness. Squashed some Hammerneger by the name of William Weeks. Kong won that in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. No rating to a dud, but it was a beautiful squash. That was my other co-worst fight of the night. And then the main event of the evening, Alberto El Patron, a.k.a. Alberto Del Rio. He went one-on-one with Eli Drake, although Eli Drake had Tyrus in his corner, a.k.a. Brodus Clay from the WWE. He's now known as Tyrus. Alberto El Patron wins the match, 18 minutes and 5 seconds. Second best fight of the night, 3.25 stars. Overall good main event, and I felt that they were on their way to something really good, but the Drake slip and the flat finish that Patron double stomp setup and execution is no good, held it back a bit. I was pleasantly surprised with the match because Patron does very little to make me care these days, and Eli Drake looked like a man trying to prove a point, putting in a really strong performance. So 3.25 stars, second best fight of the night. Overall rating, 6.5 out of 10. This Impact show was really solid. Show had strong bookends with Seidel versus Edwards and Drake versus El Patron being quality TV bouts that are worth your time. I also think that the stuff around the world title, trying to make the GFW title seem important, and the way to get to Lashley, the Impact World title, and the Slammiversary main event. There was a lot of focus around that on the show, which makes for a nice centerpiece of the programming. Much like the last few weeks, the show is rock solid and gives you a few things that are worth your time, but it still feels like they haven't locked in on an identity. Right now, the show is still a TNA/GFW hybrid, but I am still waiting for the show to be Impact Wrestling, whatever that'll be. So this show, far and away better than 205 Live. So to me, like I said, 6.5 out of 10. So what can we expect on the next edition of Impact Wrestling that will air this Thursday night on Pop Television at 8 p.m.? Let's see what we got. Ethan Carter III is going to mock James Storm with a promo. Laredo Kid and Garza Jr. will square off against Idris Abraham and Hakeem Zayn. Sienna will square off against ODB. Moose and Marche Rocket will square off for the Impact Grand Championship. Alicia, Eddie Edwards' wife, will square off against Angelina Love. Davey Richards will be in her corner, of course. And then the main event for the Global Force Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship, Magnus will defend against Alberto El Patron. So that'll all go down Thursday night on Impact Wrestling at 8 p.m. on Pop Television. And that will do it for this abbreviated and late edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. So we're going to get to our shout-outs. So Bullock, you started off, and then I'll set up some very exciting future content coming up.
All right, of course, special shout-out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to support our shows, whether it's Ridiculously Raw, Cerebral Smack Talk, or Strictly Sports. We thank you all so very much for tuning in on this late night here, to say the very least. Of course, shout out to our First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, Dee Dee Woodson, and the rest of the Woodson family. Continued prayers to them with what they've been going through, and we're thinking of you. And yeah, and of course, shout outs to the rest of our super fans, Matt Ward and Jason Hicksenbaugh, and of course to all of our friends from our high school days. Of course, you guys know who you are, and of course the Grand Poobah, Derek Ferreira. So yeah, so that's pretty much gonna do it for me. So until tomorrow night for an all-new edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, this is the Phenom Mike Bullock saying thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, you know the routine. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone. So Florio, take us home.
Yeah, we'll do, Bullock. Of course, special shout out, of course, to our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make our shows as over as they are. We appreciate it as always. Of course, an extra special shout out, of course, to the Twisted Angel and First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, Dee Dee Woodson. Continuing, unfortunately, the family emergency has not subsided yet, but we are hopeful that it will, and that it will pass sooner than later, and she'll be back with us in due time. I told her to take as much time as she needs, so we're hopeful of having her back with us in the weeks to come. Of course, our other special shout out, of course, good old MF Michael Fletcher, who couldn't be with us tonight due to work commitments beyond his control. But he will be back with us tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk. I'll have more on that in a minute. Of course, we're gonna shout out to our other super fans, of course, and insiders: Matt Ward, Jason Hicksenbaugh, Daniel Luttrell from the UK, our first ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway, and our other crew members: Tommy Souza, Jimmy Alden, Eric Carrier, Alvarez, and Rob Parsons. They know who they are, and of course the man himself, Derek Ferreira. And before I get into the future content, I want to share a very special announcement. If you didn't hear about this on our Facebook page or on the Strictly Sports Facebook page, but this past weekend, a huge mega fight in the world of boxing was announced. Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, will square off against Canelo Alvarez, and that's going to go down on Saturday night, September 16th. On Friday, September 15th, mark that date down in your calendars. Friday night, September 15th, we are going to have a very special edition of Strictly Sports, as we are going to preview that Triple G Canelo Alvarez mega fight. And I'll be here. I know it's not really a thing for Bullock. I know Bullock's not much of a boxing guy, but I remember he was with us for that Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, so maybe he'll consider joining us for that show. Michael Fletcher, MF, will be here. We're also going to try to get Jimmy Alden to join us for that show, because he was a big hit when we did that Mayweather-Pacquiao preview 2 years ago. And I can also confirm that if all goes well, Derek Ferreira will make a rare appearance on that show. So mark that down. Friday, September 15th, Triple G, Canelo Alvarez, mega fight preview edition of Strictly Sports right here on the Tone 25. The college football show will be moved up to Wednesday that week, and the NFL show will be moved up to Thursday. So make a note of that right here and now. So, and as far as the other shout outs go, I'll save the rest of those for Friday night. And future content coming up. Like I said, exciting future content. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m., immediately following SmackDown Live, we will have the Cerebral Smack Talk. MF will be with us. He'll be at the control for that. I'll be here. Bullock will be here. And not only are we going to, have the Cerebral Smack Talk and review SmackDown Live and whatnot, we're also going to have the Ranger Roundup. Because remember, tomorrow night is Game 6 of the New York Rangers series with the Ottawa Senators. The Rangers, with their backs against the wall, they trail that series 3-2. The ultimate the must-win game of it's the most must-win game of must-win games right here in Madison Square Garden, and we'll have the Ranger Roundup, and we'll see how that goes. So that's tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Cerebral Smack Talk and Ranger Roundup. Cerebral Smack Talk first, and then the Ranger Roundup to follow that. We're off on Wednesday, and then on, and this is an if necessary. If necessary, if the New York Rangers defeat the Ottawa Senators and force a Game 7, it'll be on Thursday night. And then on Thursday night, MF and I will have the Ranger Roundup again, the Game 7 edition. And that's only if the New York Rangers defeat the Ottawa Senators in Game 6. And if they do, we'll have that show, that Game 7 recap of the Ranger Roundup on Thursday night. Or if not, then we'll go from there. And of course, this of course is confirmed. Friday night, it's another edition of Strictly Sports. We're back to our normal docket. And here is the docket, as released by Derek Ferrera on our Facebook page a couple hours ago. Doug Whaley fired as the Buffalo Bills general manager. Jamal Charles signing with the Denver Broncos. Nick Saban signing a 3-year extension with Alabama. And we got a big quadruple main event. We got a huge 4-segment main event. We're going to preview the NHL conference finals because they'll both be set going into Friday night. And we'll give you our early thoughts on the Triple G Canelo Alvarez mega fight on September 16th. A preview of UFC 211. And then to close it out, it will be our newest installment of the Major League Baseball Power Rankings. So that's it. So that'll do it for this. So thank you all so very much for tuning in. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk and the Ranger Roundup over on MF's channel, Braves Fan 95. It's the ridiculously over gentleman Anthony Florio for the Phenom Michael Bullock, and in spirit, good old MF Michael Fletcher and the Twisted Angel D.D. Woodson, along with the man himself, Derek Ferrera. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune Forest style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Tuesday. And until tomorrow night at 10 p.m., immediately following SmackDown Live for the Cerebral Smack Talk and the Ranger Roundup, you've been watching this special, abbreviated, and late edition of Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com. And remember, no matter what anyone tells you, wrestling is indeed actually real. Good night, everybody.